Hey, look at this one. Look at this one. This is I gotta throw this one in here. This is from yesterday. Did you catch this? A little bit of Martz yesterday. Look at this. Listen to this. Mike Martz on the 33rd team.
Okay.
He's a special player. I mean, Debo obviously has a big effect too, but that's not the reason for his success. I mean, that who he is never. I think people when he started having those turnovers, they expect him to be perfect, and he's still got a little bit of a learning curve too. You know, and they're putting him. The more he does, the more they ask him to do. I was guilty of that. So you got to be careful too. You forget he's just a young guy. You know, if you're not careful. So they went back and kept things pretty static for him. But where he's really exceptional, guys, is he just under pressure. He stands in there and makes throws that most guys. He's a courageous player. We talk about CJ, same thing. Courageous, but standing in there making throws and under duress that most guys just can't or won't make. You know, and accurate, tough, calm, just. You know, ice in his veins, so to speak, you know. The Joe Montana thing is really accurate. I think it's a good analogy. I really do. Those people that, I mean, they just jump off the bandwagon at the first opportunity. I think that's just the nature of some people. I mean, they can't wait for you to have a bad moment, you know, so they take a shot at you. But he's the real deal.
There you go.
Look, people who are really stock traders know what a good investment is. Brock Purdy is a great investment for the 49ers. Full stop. They bought low. They're already getting a huge return on that investment. He is the lowest priced quarterback in football with the highest QBR rating. Like, find me a better success to starting point ratio than that. I mean, there is an argument now to be made that, you know, when we're talking about the greatest values in the history of Bay Area sports contract, I don't know if we'll ever see anything better than Steph Curry winning MVPs with a $44 million contract extension. You know, like that was incredible. That's the greatest value I think the NBA has ever seen. Steph winning MVPs, making $11 million a year. Brock might be second.
I kept hearing criticism of Brock last week, and it was always tied to they've scored 17 points 3 weeks in a row. Okay. But guess what happened yesterday? They scored over 30 points for the sixth time this year, most of any team in the NFL.
Right.
The Niners have more 30-point wins, 30-point games scoring this year than any other team in pro football. So,
look, to truly evaluate a player, and this is something that, you know, biased content creators need to start factoring in for their own credibility. But to evaluate a player truly, you just can't select from, you know, the buffet, the columns that support your argument he's not good. You know, you cannot say, well, he's thrown 5 interceptions in the last 3 weeks without also acknowledging he didn't throw any in the first 5.
Right. Or that he has fewer than all these quarterbacks that you prefer to him.
Right. He's consistently outplaying higher paid, better drafted, more seasoned, deeper into their careers quarterbacks. The only way Brock Purdy doesn't look good is if you're measuring against, you know, guys who are in the Hall of Fame. And actually, if you just take the sample of the beginning of their careers, he looks better than most of all of them too. You know, I mean, like it's absurd. The amount of people who really want to insist that all of these data points of success don't matter nearly as much as their preordained opinion that went back to training camp that it should have been Trey Lance. It's nuts. It's nuts. Again, maybe you're old, Damon. This is how the young people like to talk about sports. Well, this is why young people should just shut the fuck up and listen to older people who know what they're talking about. Seriously, it's this guy's special. He's really good. At the beginning of his career, he's performing at a pace and a level that very few quarterbacks in this league can even stay with. What does it mean? Where does it all go? I don't know. I don't know. But it's about as good of a start to a career as you can find. And if that's not good enough for some of you, I don't know what you're looking for.
Well, I mean, we debated it when he was off to this unbelievable start, and we were all kind of speculating. Okay, we know he's not going to win every game. We know he's going to turn the ball over. All quarterbacks do. When we get beyond this hot start, which is inevitably what we're seeing, right? Because nobody wins every game, and nobody doesn't throw any picks. You're gonna lose games. You're gonna throw picks. It's the nature of the beast. But we were all trying to debate, what does real Brock look like? And I think we've got a real, here we are. It's going into week 11. I think we now in year 2 have a look at what he is. He turned the ball over. He had 33 interceptions in college. He's trying to make plays, and sometimes he's going to get overzealous with the football. What's Brock's bad day? He knows how to process, and he knows how to move the football team. So like what we saw basically in the Cincy game and in the Minnesota game, that's bad Brock, which is he moves the team, plays good for 3 quarters, and then gets overzealous and throws a couple picks he shouldn't have. And that's where coaching has to come into play. That's where Shanahan's got to rein him in. That's where Brock's got to fight against his tendency to make a play on every turn. Sometimes you got to just, punt and go on to the next series and lean on the rest of your team. I mean, you can't always try to force every single play. So now that we've seen his tendency, that's it. He's got to be patient. He's got to be careful with the football. If he's patient and careful with the football, he's your guy. What does he fight? He fights tendencies where he's not patient and he tries to make a play and he's not careful with the football and he turns it over. So I think we've seen, and even in the midst of those games, he still looked awesome for 3 quarters against Minnesota. Going into the 4th quarter, he'd completed 85% of his passes on the road on Monday Night Football. Going into that Cincinnati game, he was the Niners' best player for 3 quarters of the game. But then bad Brock popped up, and we got what we got in the 4th quarter. So
right, and look,
I think we now have a pretty good idea of what he is. He knows how to process. The ball's going to come out on time. He's going to be pretty accurate. He's really, really smart young guy. He's very competitive. What you got to coach out of him is his impatience and his looseness with the ball. And as long as he can take care of the football, they got a great chance to win almost every game that he's in. And that's a great spot. I mean, this wasn't, Damon, one last thought. This Jacksonville team was in a lot of ways the toughest team he's going to face. Why? Because his tendency or his weakness is to turn it over, and they had 18 takeaways. And yet the Niners came in, he took care of the football, and they wind up winning a blowout game on the road against and running the ball for 144 against one of the league's top run defenses absolutely helped.
Look, in week 7 and 8, where he had 2 interception games in back-to-back weeks and everyone was trying to hop off the bandwagon, what he also did was complete 70% of his passes. Again, greater than the best career completion percentage ever recorded in football history. He's recording 70% of his passes. He's completing them with 713 total yards over the course of 2 weeks. Like that's letting her rip. That's really playing well. But again, he had the interceptions. But this guy he will probably never be as good as the most hopeful Niner fan would hope him to be, and he will never be nearly as bad as some people are trying to tell you that he is. And again, there's a guy just a few minutes ago on the chat named Always Drip 805.
Yes, always. What did Always Drip have to say?
Well, he says a franchise quarterback wins with no-name players. He makes no-name players all look like pro players. Brock Purdy wouldn't win without CMC and Kittle until I can see him win without the Avengers cast to save him. What? He won't be good enough for you? So until
he completed a ball to Ronnie Bell yesterday, didn't he?
Wait a minute. Wasn't that Darnold?
Was it?
I don't know. Doesn't matter. The whole point is Always Drip. The fictitious, completely hypothetical scenario that you have invented in your mind is the hurdle that must be crossed before you believe. You are the same idiot who said, until Tom Brady can win without the Patriots, he's no good. I mean, like you're out of your mind. So until the 49ers can get demonstrably worse around him, and field a less than competitive team, and he brings them to a win total that they should never have approached, then he'll be good enough for you? Like, again, you are making shit up. The imaginary scenario in your mind is not the test of an NFL quarterback's talent. The test of an NFL quarterback's talent is the game he's playing today, not the imaginary game with all the levers pulled for you to adjust the setting of difficulty that you think need be cleared before you can say he can play.
But even if always drip is right, you're still talking about a young player. I mean, let's see what he is in 2-3 years, right? I mean, then
games.
Let's just see what he is down the road,
right? Well, but again, not until he wins playoff games. He's won those.
I mean, people talk about
playoff games.
All these quarterbacks. I mean, Mahomes this year has some really questionable wide receivers. He still has a great O-line, the best offensive play caller, maybe the best tight end
in history,
and a terrific young running back, and a number one defense. So, I mean, it's like, Lamar's good, but Lamar's also got a really good offensive line, a killer run game, a very good, the number one defense. I mean, it's like football's a team game. Yeah, I mean, was Terry Bradshaw the best quarterback ever, or was Terry Bradshaw the quarterback of 4 Super Bowl winners? He was damn good when he needed to be, and they won. Were there better quarterbacks? I mean, I know what you're saying, that he's doing it with these premier weapons. And that's what the Niners have. They have premier weapons. And you're right. If they took those premier weapons away, he wouldn't be as good. There's no doubt about it. But I mean, telling me that suddenly Jalen Hurts could win without Devontae and A.J. Brown and all their killer Hall of Fame offensive linemen,
right?
Dallas Goedert, and it's like he's got some pretty good talent around him. I mean, everybody's got talent. People talk about Herbert. Oh, Herbert. Could you imagine Herbert in this Niner system? How about, could you imagine Keenan Allen catching passes from Brock Purdy? Keenan Allen's pretty damn good. I'm just saying, it's like almost everybody's got somebody around them. Is Tua? People think that Tua's great. Is Tua great, or is Tyreek and Waddle great?
Right.
We can debate this forever.
Until Brock Purdy is able to somehow turn a collective team sport into an individual sport where he can win 1 on 11, I won't be impressed.